What a time to take on this new job. The U.S. ambassador to the UK, Matthew Barzun, is my special guest tonight, and he took up his post in August, right in the middle of an environment that is, to put it mildly, very challenging. Here he is giving a behind-the-scenes tour of the embassy in London.
And over here, of course, is a portrait of someone I think needs no introduction. Here's Sir Winston Churchill, cigar in hand, looking intently and purposefully over my shoulder every day. And I love it because it's a reminder of the man who coined the term special relationship back in 1946.
Now, U.S. relationships, whether special or not, are sharply in focus as the global fallout continues over the NSA spying allegations. Today, a delegation from the EU arrived for talks in Washington following claims that German Chancellor Angela Merkel's phone was monitored, apparently along with dozens of other world leaders. On Capitol Hill yesterday, intelligence chiefs defended the principle of eavesdropping on world leaders, but it's the allegation of snooping on tens of millions of calls made by ordinary people, specifically in France and Spain, that was sharply denied. The head of the NSA says metadata, such as what number is dialed and how long a call lasts, was actually collected by European intelligence services and later shared with the United States. But after months of revelations by the NSA leaker Edward Snowden, President Barack Obama has ordered a review of intelligence practices. Meanwhile, his global standing has taken a knock, and rebuilding trust won't be easy. All this as the U.S. tries to recover from that other debacle over the government shutdown. And that's a lot for any ambassador to cope with. Matthew Barzun came to the Court of St. James via volunteering on President Obama's first campaign and then chairing the Finance Committee for his re-election. He has also served as ambassador to Sweden, and he knows a lot about working closely with America's key allies in good times and difficult ones. Ambassador Barzun, welcome. Thanks for joining me in the studio.
Thank you for having me, Christiane.
So this week has been dominated by stories of ambassadors around Europe being summoned by the governments and demanding explanations. Why have you not been summoned?
Well, the United States and the UK have an incredibly close, as you know, intelligence sharing cooperation, and that dates back to World War II, up through the Cold War, and continues right up today as we try to make the world and ourselves safe from proliferation, from terrorism. So we work incredibly closely together, and that's the focus of the conversations I'm having.
In the same vein, I want to play you a little bit of what Prime Minister Cameron was asked and his response in Parliament this week.
Can he tell the House whether his phone has been targeted, and if not, why not?
There was a very good moment at the dinner when one EU Prime Minister said how disappointed he was that clearly no one was interested in his conversations. I won't reveal who it was.
So, Ambassador, a light moment about a serious topic, one that is grabbed Washington right now by the horns, and that is the fallout from tapping and monitoring leaders' phone calls, emails, etc., even allies. And in fact, at Congress, James Clapper yesterday said this is business as usual. This is what we do. Explain to us what it is that the U.S. and its allies do in terms of intelligence gathering.
Well, I think, you know, in Washington today, you've got a delegation from the European Parliament there engaging with the State Department, with the White House. You've got delegations from European countries there engaging. So the president, as he has said, takes this matter very seriously, and he's working on it. And it's part of the reasons that he's conducting this review, the White House review, and then also external reviews about how we strike the balance. And he thinks it's really important that we find the right balance between, on the one hand, protecting the security of our citizens and our allies, and at the same time protecting the privacy that Americans and Brits and people all over the world share.
What do you make of what General Keith Alexander said yesterday? Because obviously one of the other things that has grabbed the headlines has been these accusations printed in Spanish and French newspapers with the help of Glenn Greenwald that the U.S. was spying on French and Spanish citizens and collecting tens of millions of phone calls and other such. General Alexander said it wasn't true. This is what he said.
The sources of the metadata include data legally collected by NSA under its various authorities, as well as data provided to NSA by foreign partners. To be perfectly clear, this is not information that we collected on European citizens. It represents information that we and our NATO allies have collected in defense of our countries and in support of military operations.
Does that present a bit of an issue? First, the fact that everybody accused the NSA of doing it. Now, General Alexander is basically explaining that actually it's our allies who are also doing it, and that is what they do. Could that sort of have a backlash, do you fear, as ambassador? Do you think that that could put, let's say, the leaders of France and Germany in a difficult spot with their publics once they know that their intelligence are spying on them?
Well, what I would react to that clip and to the other one that you showed is a lot of the explaining that's going on. And I think it's important to reflect on the fact that both here in the United Kingdom and back home in America, you see an open public debate about these topics. You saw people on Capitol Hill in that clip. You see the president himself, his spokesperson, Jay Carney, everyone engaging, not only in public formats like we've seen, but also through diplomatic channels, engaging on this important topic so that we can find the right balance. And I think as we see all that back and forth of news stories, that we reflect on how these democracies are handling this really important issue.
But I think
that's a good model.
And one of the really important issues, obviously, is cooperation in, let's say, counterterrorism.
Sure.
Do you fear, as an ambassador representing the U.S. government, do you fear that now exposing some of what's going on, and this was kind of a first confirmation that actually, yes, the U.S. and other intelligence agencies cooperate, do you think it might hamper the trust of other governments or other intelligence agencies in cooperating with the United States? Do you think these leaks, do you think this open system that you're now talking about could hamper that?
I think it's vital that we continue working closely together. It's not really my position to comment on other countries, but certainly as it relates to the United Kingdom and the United States, the partnership is incredibly close, and it's working to keep us safe. And in order, but I think to the larger point you were getting at, it's also important, and the president has said this, that that our publics in our democracies be comfortable with this balance between security on the one hand and the privacy concerns that we all share.
The publics are pretty angry right now. For instance, in Germany, they're pretty angry once they heard that Chancellor Merkel was also being monitored. You know, you've seen the film, everybody's seen the film, The Lives of Others, about the intrusions of the Stasi era in Germany. I mean, I guess I'm asking, do you understand, as a human being, the sensitivities amongst various European populations to all of this?
Well, I would focus on the sensitivities to the publics. I can speak more to America and maybe what's going on in the UK. And I think an important point to realize.
But you were ambassador to Sweden beforehand as well, so you've got a pretty big view.
Sure. Look, and this is really important, and that's why the president takes these matters so seriously and why these meetings are happening today in Washington.
You mentioned the delegation in the United States. Now, Viviane Reding, who's the EU vice president, EEC vice president, has said, and I quote, that all of these disclosures, quote, shows the U.S. views Europe as a threat, not a partner. What is your response to that?
Well, I wouldn't characterize it that way at all. And
but I mean, that she would say that is pretty dramatic.
These unauthorized disclosures have created issues that the president and his team are actively engaging in. But that is just one of the many issues we're working on together, the U.S. and the U.K. and the U.S. and Europe more broadly. After I leave here today, I'm going to a session on the big transatlantic trade deal that we're trying to get. So we need to keep moving forward and working on these other issues, and we are.
Right. Well, tell me about how difficult that is, because you're talking about the EU-US free trade deal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So she even said that all of this could be damaged by these disclosures. Even some European leaders who support that free trade agreement are saying the same thing. Do you think that it'll get put on ice? Do you think that'll go through?
No, I don't. It will continue to make progress. We need to make progress. There's too much at stake. Europe and the United States, we need more growth, more jobs. If you just look at existing trade, the largest trading bloc in the world, and a third of global trade in goods and services, that supports 13 million jobs in Europe and the United States. Currently, So if we can build on that, we get a big deal done, an ambitious deal done, that could mean more growth, more jobs, and we sorely need those.